Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden. And early this morning we had some very intense storms come through. We had tornadoes in our area and we had 70-mile-per-hour winds. So we're gonna go ahead and do a walking tour through the garden to check out all the destruction and damage. I would definitely say that my garden and my property fared better than a lot of people, especially a lot of my neighbors who lost trees and they lost sheds like gardening sheds and storage sheds and basketball hoops and damage to their cars. Like, it's pretty rough. And while the tornadoes didn't reach my particular neighborhood, they did reach some of the surrounding cities. I haven't heard of any fatalities, so hopefully everyone is okay. And I am going to be walking y'all through my garden and showing you some of the damage that occurred. And I had basically mostly minor damage, but I did have some major damage in some areas, which is super sad. But I'm going to basically walk y'all through, look at some of the damage, and then talk about some of the things that I could have done to better prepare for this, and also some of the things I can do now when I'm waiting to see how my plants are going to rebound. Okay, so like I said, we had winds over 70 miles per hour. And so everything looks pretty okay from far away. I did want to show, like, the rain was so intense that it got pushed all the way back almost towards the front door. Thankfully, we didn't have any flooding, but some of our neighbors, the water went all the way to their front doors and flooded into their houses, which is unfortunate. Just to show you a little bit of the wind issues, if you remember just the other day, I filmed in front of this area where a bunch of my plants are on the front porch, and they were all just laying over flat at this point because the rain, or it was really there you go, a lot of broken stuff, because the winds were so intense. So I will have a lot of broken things like this to deal with as well. And then of course, you know, just basic things like this is no big deal. These are all paper, totally fine. And then, like, lots of things did fine. Like, all my hanging baskets survived, which is surprising. They're all up there doing good. Whereas, you know, other things really struggled and had issues. So basically we had, like, oh my gosh, they said like 3 to 4 inches of rain come through. So it's a downpour and there's some flash floodings. A lot of plants are just laying over is what I'm discovering. I'm hoping that they're not, you know, broken. Too many of them are broken, and that they're just currently weighted down by water. Yeah, that popped up pretty quick already. I did have some damage on the summerific hibiscus, which I've found to be very brittle. This is the 3rd branch I've lost this year. And I even had these supported, which is fascinating, and still lost another branch in here. Let's see, it was right around that area. But that was a big branch that came off, which seems like no big deal. I mean, it will grow more, but it's just a shame that I've only got 2. But I found it to be very brittle, which is interesting. I haven't really had struggles like that in the past with hibiscus breaking. Now, obviously, these were ridiculous winds, but I did have it break in not so ridiculous winds. So anyway, I probably might need to get some more supports for those in the future, or when those start to grow up, maybe I need to top those branches and force them to branch out. You can see a lot of this is all laid over. These were all of my dahlias, color spectacle dahlias, and they are all significantly laid over. After we do the tour, we're going to come back and do a little work in some of these areas just to show you some of the things that I probably should have done. We just had no idea that the storm was going to be this intense. It's one of the planters that I just planted yesterday that has the Alberta spruce, and looks like all of that is pulled out, so I'll have to upright that container and get that fixed. A lot of damage to this Proven Winners Butterfly Pugster Blue. A lot of it just hanging down low. Probably have to be trimmed up and dealt with. Same with the Meteor Showers Verbena. It was time for a cutback on this anyway, but have to go through and do some extreme pruning regarding that, which is a shame. This was one of my favorite areas right now. I'm sad. I'm trying not to be too sad because, I mean, in reality, this is just no big deal compared to what other people are going through, but still sad. Thankfully, the Ruby Falls redbud is looking pretty good and doing all right. Trellises blown out everywhere. So I need to pull a bunch of those up and fix those. But you might be able to, those of y'all who know my garden well, might notice what's missing. And it is the Golden Falls Weeping Redbud. And apparently it just snapped at the trunk and it's gone. Like, it's not in my garden. My husband drove around just to see if we could find it. It's not anywhere in the neighborhood. It is just totally gone. So that's unfortunate. That'd been there about 3 years. So I will have to look at replacing it either with the same thing or I might want an evergreen here or something like that. I'm not sure. I got to think about it. I'm sad. It's hard to make a decision right now because I'm like, oh. So yeah, that's disappointing. And then over here, not too bad on damage. A lot of stuff is just laid out flat is really the biggest issues you can see. And let me step down here for a second. So I do have this really long street, and so wind really picks up down the street. So it makes sense that it came and just demolished all the way across here and really picks up speed here. So it makes sense that I had most of the damage there. So typically you would see the Golden Falls Weeping Redbud right there. I mean, I guess it could come back from the root. That would take years and years. These are slow growers. We'll look at replacing it. It'll be fun to shop for something new, but still disappointing because it's a, expensive plant. It was not cheap. And it was quite the little specimen that I searched for quite a while because I wanted it to have a very particular look. Oh, anyway, let's go to the backyard and check out what that looks like. The smoke bush looks okay, but the whole thing is dramatically leaning forward. So that'll be interesting if that's just a matter of the leaves or if the whole trunk has shifted. Let's go look at the base real quick. Yeah, we've got some lifting over here. Yeah, and you can see that movement. So I don't know if that means that I'm going to lose this. I'm not sure, but I mean, this used to all be clear. I don't even know what to do about something like this when it's like partially pulled forward like that. Maybe what I need to do is cut it back dramatically and take all the top heavy weight off of it. Here, let's step back and take a look real quick. Got my rain boots on, or my gardening boots on. See how far forward it's leaning? Maybe I need to go take off all the heavy stuff so that it won't pull it as far forward right now and it gives it opportunity to reestablish. Oh, that'll really suck if I lose that one too. I'm trying not to be disappointed, y'all. My family, my animals, and my house are just fine. So I know I shouldn't be too upset about the garden. To the back. The willow's looking all right. There are some broken branches tucked up in there that are an issue, and of course all my first Oriental lily. This is a Casablanca Oriental lily. First one bloomed today. Got several more. They're going to have some damage on them. Yeah, definitely where basically you can see this area, branches have been pushed over and linked over onto other ones. So this opens up a lot more sun under here. Hopefully all the branches will work their way out. If not, I'm going to have to go in and really help pull some of these long fronds out. It's all like tucked in there behind other ones. Ridiculous amount of water. We still haven't had the drain installed. That's a whole other thing, and a miscommunication with the guy, but that should be coming soon. A lot of the Queen Anne's lace were propped up before, so they did pretty well. We do have some bullet allium coming up. Basil, everybody's looking all right over here. Roses, looking okay. Definitely need to take some time to go and pin some of those up, tie some of those up. Just a lot of this laid over plants. So a lot of plants are just, I'm gonna have to go ahead and trim the back for the season. This area got demolished. This was bachelor's buttons right here. This is all the new zinnias, which look fine. This is all the scabiosa and status. They are looking rough. So we'll see what we can do on that. Surprisingly, my hanging basket's up. All the plants strewn everywhere. Planters laid out. It's going to take me a few days to recover from this. Now the sunflower, ironically, I had recently tied up with one of these tomato poles, so that really kept it in. He's been done blooming anyway, so it's okay if we cut it back. All my lysianthus are starting to bloom, which is so exciting, but I definitely have some that are laid out that need to be propped back up. Chrysanthemum bed looks fine. These beds look fine. They had a little bit more protection. Definitely had an issue in the shade garden. The shade cloth came down significantly. I'm trying to see where it just stretched and broke. I think, sorry, I'm moving too fast. I'll slow down. I think this is the area up here. So I need to get my husband to help me like re-stretch this into place, because that's tied up as far as it can right there. But obviously it's not supposed to be this low. I mean, I'm 5'10" and my head is touching it. So not bad in here. It's looking okay. Just got to re-stretch this portion. Beautiful white hydrangeas. Look at these guys. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so let's go do a little bit of work, and I'm going to see how long I can last without being too sad about it. All right, let's go. Okay, so I had some issues with my microphone, so I'm going to do some voiceover. But basically, yesterday I got these peony hoops in the mail, and basically it's 2 half circles that kind of hook and connect to each other to make one big circle, and it helps support plants. And I really wish I had gotten out yesterday and put these out before the storm. It might have made a big difference. And so anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with this taller one. These are about 24 inches tall, and I'm going to go ahead and put it around the hardy hibiscus right here. And basically you just start by putting one side in, and then you come back with the other side and kind of push the plant into place. And then it's easy as that. You just put in the second one and it kind of holds everything together. I did want to show in this area where a lot of the plants have flopped that you can just come in and give them kind of a shake and get some of the water excess water off of them, and that usually helps them plump up, as you can kind of see as I'm doing that right here. Now, I will keep an eye on these for the next couple of days, and if I don't feel like they come all the way upright, then I will go in and prune these so that they can be less top heavy. Now, this area is the dahlias, and they are laid over pretty extreme. So I'm just going to kind of pick through them a little bit and make sure that most of the branches are still attached. And there's one right there. That one actually has the bud that was about to bloom. So anyway, on that particular one, we'll just toss those. And then moving forward, I'm just going to use the same tall peony hoops, install one on one side, and then gently push each of the individual stems up into place to hold them into place. And then from there, I'll put the additional peony hoop in place, and that should support all of this really, really well. I'm outside working. There's actually quite a few helicopters flying over our area, just kind of checking out all of the damage, which totally makes sense. And then so going into this next portion, I'm just working in on another set of dahlias towards the back here. They're kind of intertwined with this Texas rock rose, which I'm really excited to have for this summer. I might give it a pruning in a couple of weeks to make it a little bit more bushier, but anyway, I'm just going to use an additional dahlia hook right there, and I'm just wondering how much of a difference this would have made if I had actually installed these yesterday, but I guess we will never know at this point. And now I'm going to go through and I'm going to go ahead and cut back or really hard prune these petunias that I grew from seed. They're Super Bisma Triumph petunias. I was planning on giving them a really hard pruning anyway, but they are laid out so flat now from the winds that they are covering a couple of Calamintha nepeta that are directly in front of them. So by just going ahead and trimming these back, we're going to expose that nepeta, but then also, since we are getting into hotter weather, this will be way easier for these petunia plants to support less vegetation and less flowers. And this will also get them branching out, which will be really beautiful and full as the season goes on. Okay, so this area is one of the planters that I planted yesterday. This is the dwarf Alberta spruce that had the profusion double deep salmon zinnias planted in front, and that got knocked over. So I'm just uprighting it at this point and going ahead and replanting all of these zinnias. They had not even been in the ground 12 hours at this point. Well, I guess maybe they more than 12 hours. Oh, getting close to 24 hours. And so it was pretty easy to just go ahead and plug them back in. I did have to go get some additional compost soil to fill in, since so much of it had fallen over the side. And where this planter had fallen, it actually fell on top of all my gladiolas that I had been growing here. So I'm kind of standing them back up at this point in time. And then once I get this planter well planted again, then I will go back and use some support, some individual stem supports to individually support each one of those gladiolas, especially since so many of them were about to bloom. This next area I'm pretty bummed about. This is all my meteor showers verbena. It is a perennial that grows back in this area over and over again, and it also self-sows in some different places. I really needed to be cut back anyway. I typically do at least a couple of good prunings on this, forcing it to branch and, just give me fresh new blooms. So I'm going to go ahead and do a hard pruning back to about 16 to 18 inches tall, just kind of working through the space. Because all of these plants have flopped over onto the plants in front of it, I could push these back into place, but truthfully, they are a hot, tangled mess, and I would end up bending and destroying the stems if I just kind of push them back into place at this point. thing about pruning plants that are leaning really far over is by going ahead and pruning them shorter, you are hoping to prevent the plant from being uprooted. And we don't want to destroy the root system because most of these plants will grow back no problem. So trimming those back also makes me feel good because we are keeping those roots intact. Now this right here is a butterfly bush called Pugster Blue by Proven Winners, and sorely disappointed in this one because it had recently overcome a really bad bout of spider mites, and it was flushing and just really starting to put on a ton of growth. So super disappointed for this one to not do so well. There were several branches that were just flat out broken at the base. So I'm cutting those back as well throughout this entire space, just making sure anything that's damaged is moved away. And then I'm also going to go ahead and cut back some of the top heavy growth, just because I think it's going to be easier in keeping this plant. We are expecting more severe weather coming tonight, or when y'all see this video, it will have been the night before. But by cutting back some of this top growth, it just makes it easier and it allows the plant to just support itself. This plant will flush back beautifully. I've had to cut it all the way to the ground before because of spider mites, and it always comes back. So I had some trellis down so you can see me messing around that area. Definitely some plants that flopped over, specifically these balloon flowers. They all kind of flopped over. And so I'm going to, in addition, use some additional shorter varieties of the peony hoops that are approximately 16 inches tall to go ahead and support these. Now I could have just put the semicircle at the front instead of making a circle total, and when I watched the video, I realized that would have saved me time, but also product. So I might go back and just change this up where I just use a front half semicircle to kind of hold them into place. But if I forget, it's not the end of the world. These flop anyway. These do every season for me. I still love them. I still think they're beautiful. I'm not sure why they flop every season. Maybe I over fertilize. Maybe my soil is too rich. I'm not sure, but I sure do love these plants even though they flop each year for me. In this next area, we're going to be dealing with my chocolate cosmos that have been almost flattened, and I'm installing the shorter peony hoop, the 16-inch peony hoop, and I just gently kind of lift the plants back up into place. And after I get this back plant done is when I figure out that I should just be using half of a peony hoop for some of these plants since it's kind of, they're all falling forward. Then it's just very easy to use one half to kind of support it all. So after I do that with this first one, I go back and I use just one half on the other ones, and it worked great. Okay, so back in this area, I'm going to go ahead and trim back some of these gladiola blooms that have already finished blooming. And they have single stem supports in him, this kind of long piece of metal with a little hook on the top. And so once I get all of these removed, I'm going to go ahead and remove all those single stem supports so that I can use them in some other areas since I have so much going on. Now you can see directly to the right of where I am on the screen, that is the open space where the Golden Falls Weeping Redbud was. It's there about 3 years. I'm sorely disappointed it's gone, but I'm not going to lie, I've already started thinking of other possibilities, and I'm currently leaning towards a blue-green colored evergreen. I think would be beautiful in that space. Since I have so much red and so much green and so much of that yellow limey green here, I think a blue color would just work beautifully. But you guys let me know what you think. Okay, coming over into this area is the Russian sage, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice prune back as well. I found that once it lays over, it does not go back upright. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a really nice pruning. Everywhere where I prune here, it will branch out and give me more blooms. I bet I have new blooms on this by mid-July, which would be wonderful. Okay, this entire time I've been working, I've been thinking about the smoke bush here, and it's just leaning really far forward. And when it comes down to it, I need to preserve the integrity of the root system of this plant. And so what I need to do is, because it's leaning so far forward, I need to go ahead and take off some of the extra heavy growth towards the front of the smoke tree. And by doing this, it's going to lighten up the front and make the back a little bit heavier in hopes that it will stop leaning forward so much. Now, I'm going to start taking some of this off, and I'm going to do dramatically more as we go along because I begin to gain a little bit more confidence that I am doing the right thing here. And like I said, I want to save the plant. That's the goal. And I do think that should this not work and it continue to fall forward, I think I could take this really far down. Like, I think I could cut these branches like all the way down to about 2 feet above the soil line, like really far down. So literally take out 80% of this tree, and it would either regrow from the base or grow additional leaves on those lower, thicker branches, which it does all the time because I have to pull those off all the time. But I definitely felt better as I continued doing this and seeing the tree kind of slightly shift backwards. I was like, I think that this was the right thing to do. I also think that I could put some really industrial strength stakes towards the back of it and lash the tree there just to kind of support it throughout the season. But like I said, the main goal is to save it, not for it to look pretty at this point. So by cutting off a lot, it's going to help preserve that whole root system. So over here, it's a ton of scabiosa. And what, bud? Yes. A lot of this is coming down. Unfortunately, we're right at about harvesting, or maybe a week away from harvesting. But a lot of this is broken. So we'll just go ahead and cut it down in the base, hopefully get some new growth coming up on it. It just is what it is, y'all. Disappointing. But what are you going to do? There's already a bunch of new shoots at the base of this, so that gives me hope. Maybe later this summer we'll have some blooms from here. I'm also going to cut back the status because it's going to seed. Just really don't want it to right now. And I would like to get another round of blooms from it this summer. I was able to harvest a lot already this year. that's a vast change. Got a lot of celosia coming up in this bed. It's exciting. Now that we're getting hot, it will start growing like crazy. All right. Let's see what happens with those plants. If it doesn't work out, we'll pop in sunflowers and we'll pop in zinnias. Right here is all of my bachelor buttons, and we're just going to go ahead and pull those out. Because the goal here anyway was to, these were about done anyway, and don't let me forget that I don't want to plant bachelor buttons. I don't like them. I don't know why I keep planting them. Don't like them. I don't like to harvest them. So y'all remind me next year, don't plant bachelor buttons. But we'll plant some more zinnias or sunflowers here. Marigolds would be great here. Well, this bed looks vastly different. Okay, let's take a few minutes. So that's all cleared out. At least it's ready to go for another set of things. Let's look at some pretty things while we're at it. A bunch of my seed dahlias are starting to bloom. They're super sweet. Azuratum is doing good. A lot of it's blown over here. So I might need to get back over there and prop some of that up. Gomphrena is blooming over there. Looks like we have some Rebecca coming, and look at all those blooms coming after it. It's really looking great. This is my Zulu warrior, looking beautiful. I can't wait to see that bloom. Just need to remember, it could have been worse, right, y'all? So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and stop for the day. Okay. Much coneflower broken. So it happens. You run into storms, you run into weather stuff. For me, it's not typically this kind of weather. Typically it's just hot. Everything dies and fries. But anyway, I'm sad, but it's also okay. A year and a half ago, we had such bad winds that it broke my tree in the front yard. I had to replace my tree, which was quite unfortunate. And it happened at like a really rough time that my family was going through, and I was so sad. So I just need to remember, it's okay. All these are plants. Most of them will recover. I'll replace what I need to replace over time, and it's going to be okay. My family's okay. Puppy dogs are okay. House is okay, so we're good. There's definitely still more cleanup. I'm sad. So I'm going to pack up my kids, and we're going to go to Sonic, and we're going to get some ice cream and go say hi to my parents, and we're going to go enjoy some family time, which I think will be super helpful. To all of my North Texas friends, or all of my gardening friends across the country, if you've ever dealt with serious weather, I'm thinking about y'all. I hope everybody did okay. Those who are local to me, let me know how your gardens fared. I'm always interested to hear how you all are doing. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow my channel so much. And be sure to check me out on my social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.